My name's Felicity and we are in my workshop of Rushmatters in a tiny little village called Colston in Bedfordshire.
I'm Demi, I work here at Rushmatters with Felicity. I'm 25 and I've worked here for 8 years.
During the summer months we harvest rush on the river in Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire. Rush is a native plant to the UK. It grows in slow running rivers and can grow to 6-7 foot out of the water and grows prolifically in Bedfordshire and Cambridgeshire. We spend 4 to 5 weeks cutting the rush. Each day the rush comes back to the farm and is laid out or stood up to dry, and once it's dry it's then possible to use it. And when we weave it, we make a range of pieces. We make a lot of rush floor matting, basketry including log baskets, bags, tableware, bread baskets, table mats, and then we also work to commission. We make interesting things. My day starts with walking the dog, and then I have to get onto the computer for maybe 2 hours going through quotes, invoices, replying to emails, going through orders. Then I'm able to start work, so whatever we're working on. Recently I've been working on a costume for a film, and that went yesterday. Probably took me 6 weeks to work on that. Otherwise I work on my workbench and I'm making tableware and answering the phone all day, answering queries, because it just doesn't stop really, which is great. I do a lot of sort of one-off things. I'm also making some very large-scale panels, which we will be fitting into door panels for a residential project. Either Demi or I go out to the barn and we'll select a bolt of rush for the size that's right for the job we're doing. And then we'll water the bolt of rush. A bolt of rush is a measure, and bring the rush in, and in that time it will have pretty much mellowed. Mellowed means it will be soft and pliable to work with. You have to wet the rush before you work it, because if not it's really, really crunchy and you just can't use it, it'll just break. But once it's wet and mellowed, it just becomes a really nice rush. It's like a piece of velvet or something like that, and it's really soft to work with. And we'll say, really nice bolt of rush today, or something like that. And we'll cut what are called stakes, which are the foundation of a piece. And then we'll select the size of rush to start, say, a table mat or a basket base. And you'll select really, really fine rush for that. And then you select larger, fatter rush to build up the piece. And say you're making a table mat, we make them slightly larger, and then you have to thread away your weaving rush and then thread away your stakes. And then we leave them either a table mat or a basket, and then we trim, but we don't trim anything until it's entirely dry. Then they get packaged, Demi's packaging queen, and they get sent off.
So I get here at 8. Normally, if there's anything to package that day and send out, I try to get that done first thing before I start anything else. And then have a look at what orders we've got, see what needs to get out first, and then, get a bolt of rush, get that wet, start working. I like to have all my steaks cut beforehand. You can see all my
Demi's
baskets.
Really organised.
So I have all those cut, select whichever ones I need, get them wet so they're ready for me to use, and then make whatever needs making, really. So I'm making a 14-inch round table mat with a spider start. So you start off really fine in the middle, gradually build your way out, adding more stakes in as you go. And then I will make it to about 15 inches and then thread away the stakes so it ends up being 14 inches once it's finished. And it will end up looking like this. So what's exciting about working here is we get lots of different things to work on. It's never sort of the same thing every day.
Quite varied, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite varied. Even though we have, a lot of table mats to make all the time and things like that, there'll always be something else, something like bespoke to do, something for a film, something for a different project to make. So it's never sort of the same thing
Talking about exciting things, and Demi mentioned that, when we have special commissions, film companies do approach us fairly regularly. And the most exciting one for Demi, I would say, was working on Game of Thrones. They asked us to make some rush floor matting and go out to Belfast to fit it. Normally, it would be me and my partner who go and do fittings because it's just that's what we do. But you're a fanatic about Game of Thrones, aren't you?
So I got to go to that one.
Yeah. If I hadn't taken her, she'd have probably walked out. And that was really exciting, actually.
So my first year here was as an apprentice. So I went through the National Apprenticeship Scheme. And what you normally do with an apprenticeship is you do sort of 4 days in your workplace, and then you do a day at college or whatever you need to do to get that kind of academic kind of side of it. So they came from, I think it was Leicester College, like once a month, to do that kind of side of things. So we learned about the history of textiles and things like that. And then I was just here, learning and working the rest of the time. And I've been here ever since.
And so your learning has been all here?
Yeah.
I set up in business in 1992, having taught myself rush seating, and started buying my rush from a chap in Huntingdonshire in St Ives. And he died in 1994, so I took over the rush cutting business because I didn't want to see it die. And his family had been cutting since the 1700s. So I started cutting on my own and gradually built up the sales of the rushes, and went from my mum's front room to one workshop and then to another workshop, and then started thinking about employing people over the time from cutting rush on my own. Now there are now 4 of us cutting rush. Needed to take someone on, and Demi is the result, and now there are 5 of us in here full-time and 4 part-time. What's exciting about it is that we are continuing something, and for me it's become more and more apparent how important it is that other people are learning it. And for me, to employ people and to pay people a good salary is a great feeling for me, because everyone who works here is now highly skilled, so they've been trained up. All the training's done in here, obviously, and it's great that people can make a really good living at this. Because it's really unusual that people can use their hands in this craft-based industry and earn good money, and that's a really good feeling. When you started here, your friends used to just laugh and think it was a joke what you did. They did. I remember you saying, they just didn't. Well, it's because they didn't really understand it.
Yeah. But also, I think it's got a lot more popular in the last few years. There's been this whole kind of trend of craft and
natural.
Yeah, natural materials and things like that. So that's definitely helped as well.
But people now, when you tell people what you do, they say,
they think it's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can't say it's been easy trying to attract people into the work. We have really struggled to try to find people to come to work here. Actually, for your apprenticeship, the advert was up for a year and I didn't have one person apply. And the people who have wanted to come here to work, they seem to have a really romantic idea of craft. And they say, I'm really crafty. And then you have to explain how hard it is and how much it's going to hurt and how repetitive it is and all that sort of thing. And because otherwise they have the shock of their life when they come here. And certainly in the sewing room, when they're making the floor matting and the basketry, that's hard work. You've got needles that are 6 inches long and you're making really substantial stuff, and that hurts.
This is the beginning of a doormat, which is 3 in plait, same as you would do for your hair, if you're plaiting your hair. That's the finished article, what it's going to look like. It's really tough, lasts quite a long time, looked after. We take the rush from there, wet it, it's come from the barn, wet it down so it's pliable, and then plait a 3 in plait. Make a long length of plait up to 60, 70 metres long. This one is going to be about 18 metres of 3 in plait. And this is just going to be the centre of this mat. So if you look here, I'm doing from there to there, and then we'll carry on round twice just to finish it off. And then you can see there that it's finished off, plaited in through the plait that was there before.
We need more young people coming into the craft world, into the heritage craft, because it needs a future. And there's a red list of endangered crafts, down to one person left in that one craft. When it gets that bad, I mean, we're on the red endangered list. It's vital that we encourage young people. How we do it, hopefully this sort of thing will encourage young people to look differently at the world of work. You are a young person who loves technology.
I think because I follow a lot of like craft people on Instagram, I think Instagram has really helped people discover these kind of things.
We get a lot of work through Instagram. We'll post something and within a minute we'll have had an order. And that's a wide spectrum of people globally looking at it. And the more young people who become aware of craft through Instagram, seeing all the posts for various different people, then that could definitely be used to attract more youngsters into the field.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more Instagram more than anything. It definitely helps them see it and appreciate it and think, oh, you know, that's something maybe they'd like to do as a hobby or come on a workshop or just learn more about. But it definitely gets it out there in a way that it wouldn't have reached people beforehand.
I think my advice to a young person would be, if you want to do it, if you really want to get into, say, come here to work, then you need to bombard people with emails and things. If you really want to do it, you've got to do it yourself. And if you've got that drive, you'll do it. I mean, I'm completely self-taught, but really go for your passion. And even if you don't know what your passion is, if something looks really interesting, find out about it, do some research and just contact those people and really, go for it. Apprenticeships, I think, would be a really good route into rush work. But also people do come to me for courses, and then those that are really fired up by it will go away, buy some rush and continue at home. So that is also a way to really find out if you want to pursue that desire and then do further workshops and things like that. If people come on one of my courses, they are coming on a course to learn something to take home. It's entirely different from learning to sell it. And so when they come to work here, they have to undo it and do it again, undo it and do it again. You have to get it absolutely right before it can go out the door. In terms of qualifications, you don't have to have had a degree. You need to know your right and left hand. They really need to learn to use their hands. And that you won't find until you start it.
Yeah.
And you've got to want to understand that if you're told to do it again, it isn't a criticism. Because everything is so instant now, an image can go across the world. So that is instant, Instagram. So to come here to work, things aren't instant, ever. And that takes a lot of learning, that things aren't going to be done very quickly. And also, our clients need to learn as well that, they can't have things tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that has to be learnt throughout, and that's quite hard for people. People love what we do, but they still want it tomorrow. My love of rush work is going to the river, cutting the rush, bringing the rush back, and then knowing when I go to the barn, I know who's cut that bolt of rush, and then I can, if it's mine, that's even better, because we all know who's cut the bolt of rush. And then it's that whole process which I love, and our tools are our hands. That's it. And so there is that, using these to create something, which is really special. And something so good, then it goes out the door.
I think people are still always surprised that we don't use any other technology or machines or anything like that.
Yeah,
It's
is
just
that really hand woven?
yeah.
Particularly the flooring. Last week we were on site in London and we were working with painters and decorators. They could not believe that everything we had there was hand woven and hand sewn.
And you still get people who say, "Oh, couldn't you just get a machine just to do this little bit?" Or, you know, if the machine just did this bit, and then, you know, you could do something else.
Life's so much easier.
But no, everything's completely handmade, and it's quite nice.
It is good.
Yeah.